Here's what's next on the Nice Guys on Business.
With clients, I do have them sometimes say, I'll tell them I would like to do this as easily as I can for you. And I would like this to be as discreet as we can do it. That's always my goal. Let's not have it, all the neighbors know your business. Let's not have this drag out 2 years. I don't need the money. I got plenty of clients. I don't want to take all of yours. But at the same time, then they'll say, well, can you do it the hard way too? And yeah, that's because you hired a litigator. I mean, if you just hire somebody who likes to mediate, that's not going to get you if things get tough. And so I can do it either way. But of course, I'm always going to be polite and I'll be super nice to my clients. But I think they know that when the hammer comes down, that's how it goes.
Now it's 3 a.m. and I'm trying to change your mind. Left you multiple missed calls. And to my message, you reply, why do you only call me when you're listening to the Nice Guys on Business podcast? Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by Turnkey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
All right, nice guy community. It's time to lawyer up. Now, we've got to do that, but we got to bring in the super lawyer, Ann Hamer. Now, Ann focuses on family law, divorce law, and family business law. Now, I went for the trifecta myself, and I had both a divorce, some family law issues, and I always want to know a little bit more about family law so I can see exactly what everybody's trying to take from me in my life. So I know we're going to have a good conversation today. She's got over 20 years of experience, and Ann brings her wisdom to the Nice Guys today. I'm excited to chat with her in spite of our slight internet issues that we've had here. I know this is going to be a good conversation. Ann, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Doug. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk to your people.
All right. So what differentiates a lawyer from a super lawyer? I got to know that.
All right. Well, kind of like regular people and superheroes. I watch Marvel. So it's kind of like that. I mean, you have to do it a lot. You have to really love it. You have to spend a lot of time getting good at it. And you have to really care, because if you don't care, you're not going to be as good at it as you could be. I mean, it has to be almost your life. And I would say that my career at this point is it's 90% of my life. So that's what makes me super at it.
No, I appreciate that. So I guess I would be considered then a super podcaster. Then I'll put myself in that category. Thank you for helping me describe exactly what or define exactly what I feel like I am. But I never get the accolades. I only have the title.
Yeah, just tell yourself.
Tell myself enough times. So I have had some experience with divorce. I enjoyed it so much the first time. I went through it a second time as well. And so there's a lot of challenges. A lot of people have, there's emotional baggage that they bring into it. There's a lot of the scarring, and there's a lot of the hurt feelings and all of that. How do you maintain some semblance of positive attitude when you are around potentially so much negativity throughout your day and really throughout your career?
Honestly, Doug, it's because I went through it myself. And similar to you, I guess you've tried it again. So that's the triumph of hope over experience. I don't plan on trying it again, but I do feel that after I came out of my own divorce, and I had been a divorce lawyer at that point for about 6 or 7 years, doing primarily divorce. I just felt like it was my calling to help other people who are going through something so hard. It is real easy to tell people how they're supposed to live their lives when you've never walked in their shoes. And I did that for a long time. And I literally called some clients and apologized to the way that I had behaved toward them. They didn't really even notice it, but I, looking back on it, thought, I can't believe how insensitive I was about, these issues that were very important to them at the time that I didn't understand. But once I got divorced myself, I thought, this is it. I want to make everyone I know who ever walks through my door have a hope for a future that's going to be amazing. Divorce is so horrible when you're going through it. You're giving away half your money, or you're, taking half the money that's there, whichever one it's going to be. You're getting your kids half the time. It's the worst thing ever. So to be able to help people who know and they're facing that and they just think, oh, what's going to happen next? To be able to tell them there's going to be something amazing next. Let's just get through this storm and get to the desert island that's got, Mai Tais and a beach hut and a ton of fun and a good reggae band. Like, we'll get there. We just got to get through this first.
I had to give away half of my beach home and half of my my Mai Tais when I got divorced. I know that for sure. So, doing what you do for a living, again, a lot of negativity, but there's also a lot of positivity in it when you get the outcome that you're looking for. But curious, although you have been through this before and have the experience that you could share with your clients on either side of the the courtroom table there, what's the unique value proposition that you really offer to your clients? Why is it that you are uniquely qualified, other than you having gone through this, to represent someone in court or in a settlement, as they're going through this horrific time in their life?
Well, I guess I'd say, there's the typical resume things. I mean, I went to NYU, it's number 5 law school. I've worked for big firms. I've done a lot of litigation in big corporate cases. I started out with a pedigree that's, exactly what you would want out of any kind of litigation attorney. And I had a lot of experience in that world. Then I was a stay-at-home mom for a while. And when I went back to work as a divorce lawyer, that's when I really started focusing hard on learning everything there is to know about this area of the law in my state. And then I am also very involved in larger, the American Bar Association, the National Institute of Trial Advocacy. I've definitely been involved in all of those, so I try to stay very cutting edge. But I think it's like any career, you have to be committed to it. And it takes a toll on my kids. It takes a toll on my social life, but it's just what I feel like I'm called to do. So I've got to do it. But I would say, if you're looking for a divorce lawyer, 2 things to look for. There's really 2 or 3. You're looking for someone who's already in SuperLawyers. You're looking for somebody who's been awarded a Best Lawyers in America is the way to look. And usually I'll start with those 2 if I've got to find someone out of state for somebody, because I know those are people who have committed their life to a high level of practice. Divorce law can be very easy. I mean, most of you out there listening who've been through a divorce don't think it's easy, but if you just sit down with a lawyer and everybody divides up the money and you go to mediation and it's done and there's a parenting plan and we're 50-50, that's not hard for a lawyer to do. Mm-hmm. What's hard for lawyers to do is when the clients have problems and issues and can't resolve them easily. And then you do need a lawyer who's very well versed in what the law is and how to approach that with a judge in court and feels comfortable in court, because otherwise they're not going to be able to represent you as well as you would like when things get complicated and when things get heated.
One of the things that I forget where I heard this, but somebody recommended an attorney, and the person called the attorney and they said, hey, this person recommended you because they said that you were very nice. And the attorney called that person that recommended and said, if you ever say I am not nice again, I'm going to kill you, because I don't want to be known as a nice attorney when it comes to divorce law. So tell me, family law, right? So what's your perspective on that? Because, in the 5 minutes of conversation that we had and the stumbling over the internet connection that we had before I hit record, you came across as somebody that was, you were super sweet and super nice person. And I wouldn't envision you with a hard pressed, edict when it comes to this is what my client demands, but I know that you have to be that way. So what do you say when somebody says, be nice, be not nice? Like, what do you think about that when it comes to family law?
I think in every business, you need to be professional. And in the old days in the law, we all saw To Kill a Mockingbird. We all looked at Atticus Finch and thought that's who we want to be. And that is who I want to be. If I could be, an old white guy from the 40s, but he personified professionalism. You should be friendly to your opposing counsel. You should be friendly with your judges. You should be kind to everyone that you come across, from your secretary to the court reporter to, the sheriff's deputy letting you in the courthouse. Being a friendly person and being a nice person really only helps you. I always think, because being from the South, people think we're slower or we aren't as bright or we're not as on the uptake. And I certainly experienced that at law school in New York. It doesn't mean I'm stupid because I talk kind of like this. It just means I talk like that. It's better for people to underestimate you. But what I do tell my clients, and I think they do say things like, I want a killer lawyer, and my lawyer's a pit bull, or crazy stuff. I heard one of my partners was called a pit bull in pearls. And I thought that was so cute. And she was so proud of it. Like, yes, I am. That's what I am. But you don't have to act ugly to people to get your point across, because the law is the law. And to be perfectly honest, it's a lot like math. It just is the law. And as long as you can convince the judge and you have a good demeanor with the judge and they respect you and trust you, which you earn that by being someone that they enjoy being around, that they like to see in court, that treats opposing counsel cordially, then you become Atticus Finch in their mind, no matter what you look like or who you are, if you can act that way. It's just being professional. But with clients, I do have them sometimes say, I'll tell them, I would like to do this as easily as I can for you. And I would like this to be as discreet as we can do it. That's always my goal. Let's not have it, all the neighbors know your business. Let's not have this drag out 2 years. I don't need the money. I got plenty of clients. I don't want to take all of yours. But at the same time, then they'll say, well, can you do it the hard way too? And I said, yeah, that's because you hired a litigator. I mean, if you just hire somebody who likes to mediate, that's not going to get you if things get tough. And so I can do it either way. But of course, I'm always going to be polite and I'll be super nice to my clients. But I think they know that when the hammer comes down, that's how it goes.
Well, it's interesting that you said the part where you were talking about, everybody from the bailiff that's in court to the judge, of course, to the opposing counsel, to everybody, to probably the guy that's on the metal detector as you're walking into the courtroom. Those are all people that are potentially opportunities for you to score more business and to build a relationship, because you never know who those people know. I wrote this book called Nice Guys Finish First, and I always talk about winning business by winning relationships through winning business, or winning business through winning relationships. And the whole idea behind it is, look, you don't know where your next meal ticket is coming from, and it probably makes just as much sense from a business perspective to be nice to somebody, to everybody, as it does to just. You can't roll over them with a steamroller. You get kicked as you're going up and going down at the same time. It's really challenging when you don't fulfill that nice guy or nice woman, nice attorney, characteristic.
Well, and I really liked the concept of your podcast. I liked the nice guy situation just because I represent so many wonderful men, and I know this is not a dating podcast, but I really do. And when I hear women, my women clients, they're coming out of a divorce and they're thinking, oh my gosh, who's out there? And I'm telling them, there's so many amazing guys out there. You wouldn't believe how many great guys I divorced on a regular basis. I mean, monthly, super sweet, super responsible, great with money, helpful. And I'm not saying they're perfect at home, but they're awfully great. They're really good people. And they come out of these divorces thinking, oh my God, never. And I will, every time when they sit down with me for the initial consult, I warn them, I say, in a minute, give me 2 or 3 months, you're going to be looking at women and I'm going to tell you no. And they're like, no way. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Women are going to be attracted to you. No, it's never. Yes, it is. It's coming. It's coming way faster than you think. And sure enough, as soon as they get divorced and they get out there in the dating world, they're like, you're right, I didn't realize. And I mean, nice guys do finish first, and at least as much as I can help them do it, I'm happy to set them up. They're just a lot of really great guys out there. It's one of the fun things about my job is seeing people, yes, it's hard to change your life at 35 or 45 or 55, or even, I have clients in their 70s. That is the truth. And it is very hard to change your lifestyle at that point, but you would not believe how they find happiness at every age with new people, new opportunities. It's just wonderful. And I would say this too, if your podcast is mostly men, if it's men and women, it's the same for both. But the truth is, I will have these men come to me. Their wives are cheating. Sometimes they're serial cheaters. It's the saddest thing. And they don't know that there's better out there. And there is better out there, much better than that. So I would just encourage people to think, dig very deeply into how you're being treated in your marriage. And if it's not the right feeling for you and it hurts you, that's not how it's supposed to be. And don't stick with it.
So there's two shingles that you should have out on the street. One of them is family law, and the other one is, obviously, now that I understand this, matchmaker on the other side of that.
Oh, I know. I love it. I love it.
Sure.
I do a big birthday party every year, invite all my clients, and then they can just decide. But they're not allowed to come until they're actually divorced. But then I let them meet each other. If I think they're great, they're coming and they can meet each other. Good for them.
So one of the things that you made reference to a little bit earlier in one of the answers to the questions was the difference between men and women as attorneys. So I'm curious what challenges that maybe you have experienced as a woman in the profession that you are in, as opposed to a guy that was in that profession.
I would say I think it's hard. It's been harder as a young woman lawyer to find mentors. It was not easy. I had a lot of support. I definitely had men lawyers who thought I was going to do well, and they liked working with me. But to find the kind of mentor the way men get it, I don't think that's as easy. And back when I started, there weren't that many women doing it, and they certainly weren't super interested in mentoring because they had just struggled their way up. That was, let's say I started this in 96. So that's been a while. It's very much changed. I feel like I love mentoring young women attorneys. I love working with women attorneys. The men I work with like working with women attorneys. I think in just probably 15 years, things really exponentially changed for women in the law, except for one deal, and that would be big law. It is very, very hard when you get to the point where your biological clock's ticking and you want to have those babies to figure out a career in the big firms. It just still is. I don't know anybody who thinks that has been easy, and big firms still leave women at a pretty high clip because it's hard to navigate the babies at home versus work until 10 o'clock at night. It just is. I think other professions are better for that.
It sounds like you have had the experience of the big firm, and then you decided to do your own thing. What drove you into the world of entrepreneurship? Because you know as well as I do that opening up a law firm is not unlike opening up any other business. You have to be really good at doing what your gift is, and your gift is practicing law and negotiating and talking to other people. The challenging thing is lead generation, business development, marketing, accounting, process improvement, all of the stuff, admin, all of the things that aren't really in your zone of genius. How have you made that transition from the big firm to doing your own thing?
I'll tell you what, that has been hard. And I'm glad you brought that up. For any small business owner, I would say you got to have people that you can count on that handle the things you can't. I have a fantastic accountant. I use QuickBooks like probably everybody out here who's a small business owner. I've got fantastic people that work with me, from my law partners to the associates to my paralegal to the administrative assistants. You got to rely on other people for all that. My bankers are fantastic. When I need a loan, they work with me. They're great. You do have to build a network because you can't. Oh, my publicist helps. My website designer. You can have ideas, but you can't do it all yourself. You just cannot, or you would never sleep. And I'm still raising kids at home. So, it's a lot. But I will say the fun thing for me has been, I don't mind talking to a client at 10 o'clock. Last night, one called me literally he emailed me at 10 o'clock, and it was an emergency. And I appreciated that he was trying not to text me, and he emailed it. But it was an emergency, and I called him right then. I don't mind talking to a client at 10 o'clock. When I was working in a big firm, I would have just been stuck in the office till 10 o'clock. I don't mind the work. The workload isn't what it is. It's, can I do the workload and fit in dinner with the kids, and also maybe 9 holes of golf on, Friday afternoon? Can all those things happen on my time? And that is the nice thing about owning your own business, is you can make that work on your time. And then you don't mind giving your time to the clients on a Saturday or Sunday. I don't mind that at all. If that's when it's convenient for both of us, that's fine. I mean, I don't feel like I ever have an end to the work week. But you gotta, you're on 24/7. But the more you can outsource to people who really know how to do it. Don't you think? I think it's better.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I've repeated this many, many times on our show. Our community is probably sick of me saying this, but a few years ago, for your own education, so we about 2 or 3 years ago, we said, Strickland and I, my partner in business and my co-founder with this production company, we said, we're only going to do the stuff that is within our zone of genius. And for me, it's relationships, it's selling, it's the forward facing, the customer facing side of things. If I ever find myself in a spreadsheet or in process improvement, then fuck me. I'm like, no way, I don't want to do that. But my partner,
that is true.
He loves systems. He loves spreadsheets. He loves all the details and tasks and all of that. And he checks things off. And he's got a very informal relationship with time. I have a very formal relationship with time, which is why probably at 1 after 2 o'clock this afternoon, I probably texted you and said, hey, are you coming to our meeting? Because I'm like, is she showing up today? So when I look at things, I'm like, okay, I know if we start to stray from what is in our zone of genius, we start to spend too much time and it affects the dollars and my attitude. And so it sounds
100%.
it sounds like from what you said, you have a great accountant, you probably have a great attorney that probably helps you with stuff. You have partners, you have associates, you have all of these people in your life. And without them, you probably wouldn't be able to be as passionate about what you do as you are right now. Is that work?
Yeah, I think the administrative takes up a lot for people who who work the way we work, where we're not administrators. You know, what people pay me to do is practice law, and the administration takes up a lot of time. And the more of that you can outsource, the better, in my opinion. But you do have to. But now I will say, obviously, you got to follow up on those people and make sure they're doing it right, and make sure they're the quality, of work. But so far, I've been so lucky with all of that. Thank the Lord. Because it's hard today. Marketing is just internet, and you have got to be out there on social media, and you have to understand it. And listen, I don't know what y'all are seeing in your business, but AI is going to hit my business like a freight train.
Yep. Yeah, it's probably not a far leap from law to podcast production, even though it sounds like it might be a far leap. It really isn't. And whether it's editing or show notes or distribution or social media, I'm sure just like things like, hey, how has LegalZoom or something like that affected your business? There are probably peaks and valleys in the LegalZoom comes out. Oh shit, Anne's going to lose, some of her business. All right. But then they realize after they try LegalZoom that, man, that was a really bad experience. I need to do this through a professional like Anne. I mean, that's what I find. And I see probably AI is going to go in that direction too. There still has to be a human element involved in, even in artificial intelligence. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm. 100%. I've been trying to use AI just to get used to it, because the legal community is really scared about it right now. There've been some incidences where either judges or associates or partners with whoever, attorneys, have tried to use AI to write their briefs. And as it turned out, I guess AI cited a bunch of cases that weren't real. It was all fake. I don't know what happened with the judge, but I think that might have been it as well. And so everybody's hands off. But at the same time, I think the smart firms, and certainly in my firm, we're looking at it. Like, how do we use it? So the other day, I told ChatGPT, look, I want you to write me a direct examination for one of my witnesses I'm about to examine next week in a trial. And I gave them the parameters of the information I needed her to say. And if it didn't pop me out a perfect direct examination outline, it was nice. So, but again, I needed to read it. I wouldn't have walked into court with it cold. I needed to figure out how to get my exhibits in there. I didn't remind it about the exhibits. It didn't pick that up. It's not perfect by any means, but what's going to happen is attorneys will start using it. They'll figure out ways. And those attorneys, because we bill by time, will be able to say, oh, I can write you this brief in half an hour. Whereas for me, it's going to take 4, right? So all of a sudden, who are they going to go to? Once everyone starts learning how to use it for their own business, they're going to expect everyone to use it and make their lives easier and less expensive, right? So I think it's coming, and I think we all just have to embrace it and learn it, and we have to control it. Otherwise, we're going to be behind the 8 ball on that.
I think on the other side of it too, it brings an element of there is a minimum qualifier now when it comes to some level of intelligence, whether you're having a human being conversation. If I am sitting down with my daughter at the dinner table and she comes over with her husband and we start having a conversation and a question comes up, it's not like we ever have a conversation about the question. They go right to Google and they Google it, and we have a conversation about the answer that they brought out. So I do think that it does up the ante to the level of intelligence that we need to have, but it also really sets the stage for the importance of having a good interpersonal relationship with everyone that is your client. You could go up against a competitor that could, instead of spending 4 hours, they're spending 30 minutes on creating the brief. Or it could be, I'm going to spend less time creating the brief, but that gives me 3.5 more hours to develop the relationship with you, which is an essential component in being able to state your case properly to the judge or to that opposing attorney if we're trying to get a settlement out of court.
I think you're right. And not just do I think you're right. I know you're right. And I think what you've hit on is we still have to have the information to feed into ChatGPT, no matter what our business is.
Right.
Someone's feeding the information in and then telling it, here's what's important to me. And here's the deal. Judges are still people. So no matter what you hand them, they've still got to have you hand it to them. A computer doesn't walk into court and say, Your Honor, this is the answer. So someone's got to get up there who has an interpersonal relationship and skills to be able to at least discuss it in front of a judge. We just don't hand them a brief written by a computer. But it's out there. And I think, like you said, minimum level of intelligence. And I will say this, my clients come to me and they'll say, oh, my sister-in-law told me this, my friend told me this, my friend did this in their divorce. Well, I'm sure they'll just start asking ChatGPT, well, what will my alimony be if I make $150,000 a year and my wife makes 75? You can ask ChatGPT that all day long, but they don't know your judge. So you're still always going to have a human element. Thank the Lord, because I'm 56 years old and I need to work for a little bit. I think the human element will still be in my career for forever, probably because of that, unless we get rid of judges one day and just let computers run our lives. But I hope that's not coming in my lifetime.
No, I get it. And I think that, like anything, those that are doom and gloom about ChatGPT and any other piece of technology that they think is going to take over the world or maybe eliminate our jobs, there's always going to be a need for whatever it is that we do. And we're going to evolve, whatever it is, whatever the next step is for us. Okay, now that ChatGPT is here, or artificial intelligence is here, or now that smartphones or Google or the internet, or now that TikTok is here, we can, all of these things, they're not hurdles. They're really us to use as a stepping stone to get to the next level where we need to be. At least that's where I look at it. Look, tomorrow, all of my clients could say, we're going to do artificial intelligence to edit our, all of our podcast. And there goes, a very nice business revenue. But I don't see that as the overnight thing. I don't think somebody's tomorrow going to turn a switch and turn off my business. I think the evolution is, if I keep my head in the sand, I think it's going to be a challenge. I mean, Kodak never wanted to get out of the film business. Well, look what happened to them. I mean, everything is digital. If the person that was in charge of, hey, we're a film company. No, you're not, Kodak. You're a memory company. You're creating memories for people. They don't care what medium is bringing them the memories. So, yes, if you're just a law person and you want to stick your head in a set of books rather than go to the internet, I'm sure there are attorneys that are still opening up books as opposed to going to the internet as well, correct?
I would imagine that those guys are 80.
Yep.
When I graduated, let's see, when I started law school in 93, I probably was one of the last classes where we still really learned and researched in books. That was right when Westlaw and Lexis were starting to put all the research online, and it was so expensive. And the law firms were just, oh my gosh, the clients are having to pay $175 an hour for us just to research, for an hour on these platforms. Well, nowadays, there's no other way. I mean, everything, obviously, the internet hit, and that was the end of it, and we find everything online. And I don't know who goes and looks at the books anymore. We used to have law libraries full, and that's where, paper was. It was just a huge part of every law firm, this giant library. But right about the time I started practicing, that went away. And I feel like right now, in the middle of my career, here comes ChatGPT. It's the new internet. Like, what is it going to do? And how are we going to all figure out how to harness that thing so we can be better at our job? That's kind of how I look at it. It's just like a car. I don't want to take a horse if I can take a horse.
Understood completely. So one of the questions that I asked you before I hit record, because I think it's an essential component of the type of business that you have, you're very regional. You're in Tennessee. I think specifically you're in Nashville, right?
Yes.
Okay. So being in Nashville, I said, well, tell me what would be a win for you? You know, we have people that are all over the country, let alone all over the world, that listen to our podcast. If you practice law in Nashville, how is somebody in California going to be of benefit to you? And you gave a really good answer, and I'm just going to paraphrase. And you basically said, I just want to give information. I love going on these podcasts. I spread the love and spread the word, and whatever, however you said it. And you know, those that I can help, but I can't help because they can't become a client, I'm happy to educate them. But I'd like you to share it in your words. Like what benefit would you have by going on a podcast?
Oh, sure, definitely. Well, for anybody who's thinking about going on a podcast, I think it's a great way to get your message out, to start practicing talking about what you do, whether or not it's a national audience or your local audience. You need to be doing it for your local audience. You might as well get the practice talking to everybody. But for me personally, for anybody out there with a small business who publicizes themselves, I have a website. Obviously, I like to put the podcast on there. I have a monthly email that I do, and I put the podcast on there. If you are in California or Seattle or Maine or some state that's probably community property, and I'm not a community property state, I don't try to tell you how that works. But in any situation in the United States of America, divorce is a divorce, right? So not only does it help me in my career to be able to talk about it on a podcast and use it for my social media as a business owner, but I, as a practitioner, really want people to feel like divorce isn't going to kill you. It is not the scariest thing. I can swear to you, it may be the worst thing to ever happen to you so far, but it is not the worst thing that could. So you can handle it. Everybody can handle it. My God, we all go through tough times in life. And it is fairly similar. It is all about children and money. That's it. Two things. If you can just focus your head on how are my kids going to get through this, and what's that going to look like, and how's my money going to get through this, and what's that going to look like, and stop worrying about who's getting the dining room set. You know, I can preach that all day long and make your life a lot easier if you'll take my advice. Believe me, not all my clients do. Some of them, you know, they pay me a lot of money an hour to tell them what I'm telling you guys for free. And they don't all listen, but I really do try to say it can be very, very simple. And you can get out of a divorce and do well and move on quickly if you'll listen to your lawyer, use a lawyer you feel comfortable with, hire somebody you feel like is listening to you and understands you, but you have to trust them and you have to let them guide you, and you have to take their guidance. If you don't trust them, just go get another one. Because, you know, they could be giving you great advice, but if you don't like it, or you don't like them, or you don't believe them for whatever reason, go find someone you do trust. If they're going to save you money in the long run by telling you, here's what the law is, and here's the easy way to get out of this, why make it hard?
Sure. And as you were saying that, and you know, you're talking about some of the challenges and some of the positive aspects of going through that. Yeah, divorce is one of those things. I enjoyed it so much I did it twice. So I'm just like, you know, one of those things that I might not want to try that a third time. So I think I'm sticking in the good spot right now. I'm not gonna get to a point where that's ever going to happen again. No more divorces in my life. But if I had to go through it again, going through it with a little guidance from a professional like you, Ann, would probably make a lot of sense. For those in our community that want to find out a little bit more about how to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to either reach out to you or find information about what you do?
You can look on my website, which is Anne, A-N-N-E, Hamer, H-A-M-E-R, AnnHamerLaw.com. You can also just email me at AHAMER@wickersmith.com is my firm. You know, I would say this is your situation. You're probably going to call me about a prenup next, and I can do a prenup. That's no problem. But, you know, we joke about people who get divorced the second time, and the reason why is they know how wonderful it felt to get done the first time. So at the second time, they're like, you know what? This seems bad, but I swear I've done it before. I can live through it. But it's not different. You know, there are nuances to different states, especially community property versus not, but it is really a basic formula. If you will just follow the rules and not let your emotions get all crazy with it, you can make it a business decision and make good choices that way. You just having the right lawyer to guide you, to keep you calm and help you make good choices. And I will say this too, get a financial advisor in there. Almost everybody needs to talk to somebody about their money when they're going through a divorce. You don't have to be a millionaire to have somebody tell you, you need to be putting this away in a 401k. You need to buy a new house with the money you're getting out of this divorce. You need to not buy a new house with the money you get out of this divorce. You don't need a $4,000 a month apartment. You need a $1,000 a month apartment. You know, my clients I tend to leave them alone about their financial decisions. And then when they go awry, I think, oh, I should have butted in on that. So sometimes the financial advisor can be really key to getting you to the next step of your life and making right decisions that way.
Well, Ann, I very much appreciate you sharing your expertise and your professionalism on the show today. Thank you for sharing. I know we'll get some positive feedback from our community. Thanks again. And for those in our community, all the information that Ann shared today, including access to her website, her social media, her email, all of that will be right there in the show notes. Thanks for being here today, Ann.
I loved it, Doug. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Ann Hamer of Ann Hamer Law. All of our information will be right there in the show notes, as I just stated. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Seriously, it'll only hurt for a minute. And don't worry, I'll be fine.